Hey, hey. I guess it's time to do maybe my last live video. Hey guys, I'm gonna come on out here. Lots to do. I'm interviewing the machinist this morning. And, well, we're gonna spend the day kind of seeing how how well things kind of flow together, I guess. I've got the iPad right here so I can communicate with you guys. I'm gonna fire up the compressor here real quick. Hopefully this won't be too loud. Shouldn't be because I got my mic on. You know, I forgot to do one thing. I forgot to turn off calling on my phone. I'll keep track of it on the stream here. All right, so here we are. Machines are firing up. What a journey this has been. So, I told you guys a little while ago that I wanted to, well, at least in the title of this video, I said, it says my errors, a few updates, and the future. I made a few egregious errors when I got into this segment of YouTube. I've been one of those guys that I just kind of bounce from kind of thing to thing throughout my life. Things that I'm passionate about, you know, hobbies, interests, things like this. And I just kind of thought that I'd bring you guys along for the ride as I kind of did this. And it's been an amazing journey. But there are a few things I never really accounted for and didn't have a really good understanding of. I never had a great understanding specifically of anonymity and the value of anonymity. There's a reason guys like this old Tony and Av are doing Arduino versus Evil. They don't show you their face. There's a price sometimes that comes along with notoriety. Even as micro mini as this channel is, the impact that it has had in a lot of ways and in a lot of segments of manufacturing across the industry has been, I hate to use the word profound, but it's probably true. So anyways, I don't know how many more live videos we're gonna do. I think there's, in some ways I'm super thankful that I've kind of done this way. I'm gonna start firing these machines up. You guys should still be able to hear me. In some ways I'm really happy at the way we've done things. And in some ways it's, I don't want to say misleading, but what happens is I've noticed that a lot of us, we see something happening on YouTube or Instagram and we just kind of take it at face value. We think that whatever we're seeing is maybe, I don't know, stone cold objective fact, right? But in reality, things aren't always what they seem. And so I was having a conversation with a guy the other day, and he was telling me about his manufacturing business and how successful it was, why he worked his day job. And so the thing is, I have no doubt that he believed his business was successful, and I'm sure that to some degree or another it was. But clearly, his definition and my definition aren't exactly the same because, don't get me wrong, I don't think the guy's making a mistake or anything. I think he's doing the right thing, especially if he has a family. But I would consider a really successful business to be one that, you know, it would be your primary function. You wouldn't have to go out and work a second job if you didn't have to. I guess we'll fire this up. And so anyways, my first error was probably, instead of showing you guys the machining and the technical details that it took to build this business, I kind of allowed myself to get caught up in sharing the minutia. And what is the minutia? Look behind me. That's the minutia. This Mitsubishi is the minutia. The Haas machines are the minutia. The Tormach at the end, it's the minutia. That stuff just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, okay? I watch guys, specifically in the manufacturing machining communities, they fight over this shit like it's Chevys and Fords, dude. It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys. This stuff doesn't matter. It's nothing. You know, do you want to know what these machines really are? This is what they are. They're shiny hammers that can do things. It's basically a hammer that operates itself. You know, once you program it, it hammers for you. That's it. It's just a tool. And it's interesting to me to see guys that basically what happens is when they buy these machines, there's like this brand identity thing that occurs. It's super weird where they're just like, they're all in. Like, it's like if a guy buys a Ferrari, does that make a Lamborghini a bad car? Or does that make a Corvette a bad car? I don't know. I don't understand it because that's not really my mentality. And so what I've learned over time is that when someone asks you a question, their question very often reveals their level of comprehension of any given topic. But more importantly than what it reveals about them, in this instance, is what it reveals about me. When they ask me a question about this business or about a toolpath or something like that, it reveals to me a lot of times what I have or have not shared or how well maybe I've tried. You guys don't know what my specific goals are each time I make a video, but when someone asks me a question and I just made a video that I believed answered that topic, it kind of bums me out. It's like kind of like checks and balances. It's someone telling me through real world interaction that I maybe didn't execute as well as I thought I did. And so let's see what we got here. Someone's asking if I owned Herco. No, guys. I guess the point I'm making here is that I don't think what's right for me is right for you. I don't know if the right answer is always apparent. I think sometimes you have to make the answer. You have to create your own answer, and then your action that then follows will determine whether or not your answer was right or wrong. It's not always about making the right decision. It's about making the decision. You'll follow the right decision. I really believe that in my heart. Hindsight is always 20/20, but you can't drive a car looking out of the rearview mirror, the rear window. You got to look forward, and so you have to learn as much as you can from what's behind you. Pay attention to what's in front of you, and that's where you'll end up, or the direction that you'll travel. So, with that said, I'm happy with a lot of. I don't have any piece of content that I'm unhappy I released. Every video that I've brought to you guys, I'm happy I brought them to you. A lot of this content just goes out of date. It just gets stale. The printer videos, the content videos. So people have been asking a lot about the Tormach video that I took down. Well, when I got the 1100, you guys don't know this, but I bought more equipment that maybe you'll see, maybe you won't. I talked to them. There are some processes that they have changed. And when a video is not accurate, it's kind of like looking at a movie and you get to see one frame. The same video that describes new technology in 2006, the definition of new technology has changed. The goalposts have changed. The game itself has changed. And so, yeah, I wanted to just have this talk with you guys. And this video, if you don't know this already, these videos tend to go up for my Patreon, these live videos. This is just my way of trying to be as honest and transparent. I don't think that most creators, I don't think that YouTubers and Instagram guys, I don't think that they're intentionally trying to mislead anybody at all. But I do think a lot of times that they don't necessarily intentionally portray what they have. When you only see a picture of a machine, like it's all beautiful and clean, and it's up against a couple of walls, you may not realize that it's in a one-car garage in a little tiny house, and the guy's just a one-man shop grinding. And so it's kind of like an error of omission, maybe, right? Let me see what we got here. Yeah, we have talked about. A few people are asking. I'm going to back up over here, you guys. I know it's farther from the camera, but it lets me sit down, and I only have about 20 or 30 minutes. I guess I got a fair bit of time before. Dude, these Husky desks are the bomb. So check this out. Let me unlock this thing. I don't know if I locked all 4 feet or not, but I'll just roll it over there, and then I can sit down. I don't talk about it, but I've had a fair bit of health issues. My back is all, as the Hodge twins would say, snapped up. Twin muscle workout. This is what makes these things so nice. See if you guys can see that. Yeah, I've thought about doing a podcast, but the reality is there's just a time limit on all this stuff. There's just each and every day, money comes and goes. Employees can come and go. Friends can come and go. Hell, spouses can come and go. But time only goes. You don't get any more of it. So once you burn up what you have, it's gone. One of the reasons I like doing these live videos is just that it's a super convenient way for me to communicate with you guys without me having to sit down and basically storyboard and plan and get all kinds of frontline shots, B-roll shots, edit all the audio together, look for transitions, decide on, I don't know, art elements, whatever. This is just a very raw way for me to sit down with you guys, share a little bit of my story, maybe help you guys avoid some of the mistakes that I've made. I really would love to see, I saw a clip yesterday of Elon Musk on Joe Rogan's podcast, and Elon was saying, look, man, there was a time when manufacturing was more or less revered. It was something to aspire to. It's producing real value. And I believe in my heart that here, at least here in America, we've lost our way. I've been fortunate enough to travel the world. I've been all over. I've been to China. I've been to Taiwan. I've been through, I wouldn't say many, but several countries in Europe. Manufacturing is a respectable, it's just a great way to produce a living and to raise the standard of living in the nation. And so I'm a huge fan of it, simple as that. I wish more people would look into it. This technology that we have access to today, kids that have access to 3D printers and pieces of software like Fusion 360, inexpensive CNC machines that albeit are brought in from Asia, it still allows us to develop a skill set in a kind of like a hyper advanced kind of pace. There's this, dude, I want you guys to think about something. What you see behind me, I really started machining in July of 2018. That's the God's honest truth, man. I had a little 6040 CNC. In July of 2018, I did not know what G43 was for. I did not know what G41 was for. I didn't know what G91 was. I didn't know what G20 or 21 was. I knew none of this. I knew the barest of minimums to tinker with a little toy CNC router. I had no idea at what it took to control. I had no idea what surface footage was or chip load. I had none of that. I didn't understand the difference between ramping and plunge. I didn't even know the difference between slotting and shoulder milling. I didn't know any of that. And so it's because of the internet I say I, but I mean we when I talk about the company here. It's been a long journey. I don't think this would have been possible without the internet. And for those of you that have actually followed my journey closely, I think you'll know that while I haven't been the biggest fan of every machine that you see sitting behind me, every company that makes every machine that's sitting behind me, every single one has benefited me in some way through some source of education. That one right there, they benefited me by sending out an applications engineer that helped me solve problems that even that company had never faced before. The two middle ones, their online library of content is absolutely insane. It gave me the confidence to buy the machine before I had ever touched one or ever ran a vertical machining center. The one down at the end, was the one that I originally watched all the content on and bought the first time, hoping to do a job that, to be completely honest with you, my expectations were probably set a little high, and that's a story for another day. But all I'm getting at here is that the internet and the effort that the companies, these manufacturing companies put out as far as education, allowed me to do this in, I don't know, 2.5 years, 2 years, I don't know, ish. You know, we're just making it here into this building now, but we've had these machines for a fair bit of time. I want everyone to build robot taco trucks here in the USA. Everyone's wanting to produce stuff in the USA. I'm 26 though and don't have a basic GED, hard of hearing, deaf, with CNC and 3D printing. The internet's a great tool if you have the time to learn and read. All right, so anyways, yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'm open to hearing it. I like the fact that these are dialogues. I like the fact that we can do this, we can go back and forth. If you decide to make, I'm going to give you guys a few tips that I think are pretty critical. If you decide to do a manufacturing business, and I wish you would, I don't care what you want to make. You want to make parts for RC cars? Make parts for RC cars. You want to make parts for RC planes. You want to make golf clubs. You want to make everyday carry items. You want to make knives. You want to make, you know, defense industry items. Do you want to make food items? Do you want to make toys? Do you want to make puzzles? It doesn't matter, right? The beautiful thing is that you can blend art and utility. You can do nothing but utility. You can do nothing but art. It's amazing. There are some absolutely magnificent creators out there that are making some of the coolest stuff you've ever seen in your life. And sometimes we sit in a position where we can't understand what it's like to buy a piece of art for $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 because we've never been in that position. But there are people out there that are in that position and will spend that kind of money on this kind of stuff. It just, maybe it takes like some exceptional level of eccentricity to believe that. I don't know, but I know it is true. I watch it happen all the time. All right. So here are a few critical steps in creating a business. Whatever you do, put your customers first. Number one, put the people whose hands your product will land in, put them, their needs, their wants, their thoughts, their desires, put them first. Anybody that gets in between you and them is a middleman. Now that doesn't mean that that's a bad thing, but if you make a product, let's just say you make this Red Bull. You don't make this so that the liquor stores and the party stores or convenience stores or whatever they're called, or grocery stores, you don't make this so that that liquor store can get paid, okay? You make this for your end user, for your consumer. And it's very easy to lose sight of this. Many people I see start businesses, and by the way, I made this egregious error. When I started my business, I thought just making a good product was going to put me in a position where all of the convenience stores, that the distributor dealer, would jump at the chance to carry our products, and boy was I wrong. I was critically wrong. What I found is that basically anybody other than your end user, your consumer, your customer, this is like dealers, distributors, they don't really want to help you create demand, all right? What they want to do is they want to capitalize on the demand you create, and they're not always going to like how you create it. And so it's to some degree, there's almost an adversarial relationship in the beginning until you kind of crest the hill. Once you kind of reach critical mass and you get your products out there and you're really starting to demonstrate the capability, or maybe you've built a brand and you kind of built this image through, I don't know, paid endorsement or however you're going to do it, like Nike, Reebok, whatever, Versace. Once you reach that, the relationship kind of makes a turn for the better, I guess you'd say. But in the early days, it's very difficult. So whatever you're going to build or whatever you're going to produce, I would be prepared at least for the first portion, in the infancy stage of your business, as Michael Gerber would put it. Be prepared to self-sustain. Be prepared to direct market. And the safest way to do this is to build a great big email list. Simple as that. Now, I'm not talking about spam. If you send messages that people don't want, number one, if you do it without their permission, it's unethical and probably illegal depending on the country you're in. And more importantly, if you send content that's just boring as hell and they don't want it or don't like it, they're going to unsubscribe anyways. So you have to find a way to deliver value. When I say value, that could be educational information about your product, that could be entertainment information about your product, it doesn't matter. But you have to start building a low-cost channel of communication with your prospects that captures their attention, period. When you send an email or when you do a Facebook post or when you do an Instagram post, do this. Go look at your favorite Instagrammer, all right? Go look at how many followers they have and go look at how many likes their last post has, right? Million followers, last post has 8,000 likes or something. It's like the numbers aren't even close. The saturation level is like super thin. When you build relationships with your customers, you want insane, you want as high of an open rate as you can get. And this is all a topic for another day, but I want you to think of yourself like a rock band. We'll just use, I don't know, Metallica, right? Since I happen to love Metallica, and AC/DC, and many, many others. Too Short, Ice Cube. Think of yourself like a band. You have a product, and maybe you also have a service, if you can do this, right? The product might be the album, or in the old days, the record or the CD, and then the service is the concert. But the way that I want you to think of yourself similar to a band is that you have a group of what a band would call fans. That's our customer base. These are people that you'll do whatever you have to do to entertain, educate, take care of, provide value for. And in turn, over time, these are the people that are most likely to support your endeavor. I'm sure, I don't know this to be an absolute fact, but I'd be willing to bet you that if we asked John Grimsmo, who makes some of the most expensive, highest-end knives I've ever seen, Grimsmo knives. I've never talked to John, by the way. I'm just giving you my opinion here. I'm shooting from the hip. I'd be willing to, I looked at one of his knives. I wanted a Norseman, but I was like, man, $1,500 for a knife, that's just, I'm not a knife guy, but I really appreciate, like, craftsmanship. Like, that's my thing. So I appreciate nice things. I'm not a watch guy, but I would like to have a Rolex because I think it's a nice timepiece. But if you're going to spend that kind of money, there are so many other independent brands that are doing things as nice or nicer than. But I'd be willing to bet that if we went and we asked John about the people that own his knives, I'd be willing to bet you that most of the guys that own his knives probably own more than one. And that is the number of knives that the average Grimsmo knife owner owns, that's a magic number. John's not going to tell us, and he shouldn't tell us, but these are critical numbers. And so building your fan base and delivering good quality products that kind of fit in with their desires is critical. Building a channel of communication so that you can communicate with them, both to educate, entertain, and obviously make offers to sell your products. And last but not least, to build demand so that at some point in time, if you want to go the bigger distribution route or you want to start selling to dealers, you can, and they're happy. You know, they welcome your brand into their facility. It's pretty critical. That's your. I'm going to read a couple of these questions. It's already 10 after 7. It says, I'm an entrepreneur machinist. I'm in a dilemma. I am in a dilemma. Provide services to the industry or dedicate time on a product. Looks like Grimsmo Knives or Yates Precision. Like one or the other. I have to tell you right now, Caesar, I don't have an answer for you, bud. I just can't tell you what to do with your time. I can't tell you what. This is clearly one of those situations where you have to walk your own path, bud, and I don't have a good answer for you. I do think that the one challenge with manufacturing that I have discovered is that a lot of times there's a gradient here. This isn't just like hardcore. This isn't a hard and fast rule. But what you tend to see is that products that have like a high purchase frequency, maybe they're consumable like toothpaste or toilet paper, but those types of products have wickedly low margins, okay? So you can do a high frequency, super low margin, or you can do a super, by the way, they tend to have low value as well. Or you can do, if you're doing your own products, you can do low volume, high value. And this would be something like work holding. Think fifth axis, 1,000 or 1,500 bucks for one vise, right? Guys aren't going to buy, a vise every morning on their way to work, but they might buy, some consumable beverage each day. So the margin is a big deal. And so I think if I had to start from scratch with nothing, with absolutely nothing, with no machines, no nothing, no infrastructure, no list, the first thing I would do is I would probably find a category of work that I was comfortable with, or that at least I knew I could deliver on, right? That's a big, big deal. And then I would try to find job shop work, because the truth is that every now and then we let job shop work come through here, and the margins on that work are through the roof. The amount of money that you actually get to keep. Service-based businesses are very different than manufacturing, like high-volume manufacturing businesses, in the very nature of the way the business operates, the requirements for capital equipment, things like this. And so job shop work, it probably wouldn't, I guess what I'm trying to say here is it probably wouldn't be a terrible idea to get some job shop work while you develop one of your own products. And keep in mind, none of this stuff happens overnight. My wife, I always refer to myself as a crotch rocket and my wife as a freight train. You're like, that's kind of a weird analogy. I can learn just about anything pretty quickly. And people seem to think it's magic. It's not magic. It's that I go in deep and I don't come up ever until I know what I need to know, period. When I leave the house, I'm not coming home until the result is the result. If it's 1 hour, great. If it's 1 day or 1 week or 1 year, doesn't matter. I'm going in. Like, it's like laser focus. Just remember, a 100-watt light bulb can barely light a room. A 100-watt laser will blow a hole through steel. It's that hyper focus that allows you to learn something really, really quickly. And so my wife always says it only takes 10 years to become an overnight success. Don't be afraid of taking some time to develop your product. But when the time comes to execute, do it with intensity. Destiny loves speed, man. Nobody wants to wait. It's like I said, time is the enemy. You're going to run out of time. Money comes and goes, friends come and go, wives and husbands come and go. Time only goes. I can't stress that enough. Do we deal with intellectual property compliance of our products? Alexander's asking. This is an area that, man, we could spend literally probably hours discussing this very topic. Generally speaking, on our own stuff, we haven't had to. I have had to sign non-disclosure agreements, a variety of non-disclosure agreements, very broad ones. I've had to sign them for other companies that I've served. I really don't want to say too much more about this, but yes, I deal with it, but I want you to understand something, that when you file a patent, you're more or less sharing that technology, all right? When you file the patent, you're sharing the technology or the method or whatever. And so you might think, oh, I'm filing, most of the time I find the people that are so worried about patents are people that don't even understand them. They're people that can't afford to defend them. So if I started making your product or someone else started making your product, could you even afford to defend that patent, number one? And not only that, but China's rise to kind of dominance in the world of manufacturing has almost made these patents useless. I wouldn't say it's made them completely useless, but I can tell you that they don't respect anybody's patents. They could give two shits about your patent. They're going to make whatever they want to make, and they're going to dump it into the U.S., and they just may be able to saturate the market faster than you can even respond. That's the reality of it. So these tables are, here, I'm going to spin this around for you guys real quick. These are just, these are pretty awesome. These are tables, and they're manual, right? But you can raise them up and down. And these are made by Husky. They're not cheap. They're about $250, $299 a piece, but they are awesome, I'll tell you that. You're welcome, Alexander. So Brian's asking what do we use for ERP? We don't have anything like that, man. We're a small I'll tell you, speaking of errors, we always ran our business through a website, like an e-commerce platform. That was probably an error. We should have integrated that into QuickBooks or something with a more sophisticated back end. So what happens is they put you over a barrel. So when you first start out, it's like, I don't know, let's just call it $100 a month. And then you get to say a couple $100,000 in sales. And then they say, okay, well then it's, I don't know, $300 or $400 a month. And then when you pass another number, they say, okay, now you're enterprise, now we want $1,800 a month. It's literally insane. And what happens is if you've built your whole business using one of these platforms, they kind of got you. You're kind of stuck. You're kind of jammed up. So right now, that's something that we're looking into is a more robust solution for not only managing sales and things like that. We're probably going to have. When you're spending $100 a month or $200 a month on an e-commerce website, it doesn't justify spending $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 having a new website built out, okay? Once you get to the point where you're over the barrel for $1,000 or $1,500 a month, and then maybe even specific transaction fees and things like that, they basically push you as a business owner into a position where it's probably time to invest in a solution that has a longer life and a lower overall cost. And so that's something we're exploring right now, but before I get there, it's important for me to do all the other things. There's just one step, how do you eat elephant? One bite at a time, and that's a bite that's like at the other end of the table for the moment. All right, guys, well, it's 7:18. We got the machines fired up. I wanted to share some of the things that have been difficult for me over time. Probably won't be doing too many more live videos. I think we'll probably make some content, some cutting content, things like that, just because I enjoy doing it. But I appreciate everybody watching, and I guess that's it. It's 7:18. If you guys, I'll allow 2 more minutes. If you guys have questions, if you guys have a question about the business, about I guess anything that we've discussed here today, now's the time to ask. I'm looking at the chat feed, and I'm happy to answer. Oh boy. Let's see what we got here. Looks like everybody's. Are we starting to leave? Got to get this baby warming up. Got parts to make. Now it's going to fire up the compressor. Okay, well, my worst crash. Someone's asking, do I get health insurance through my wife's job? Yes, I do. And to be honest with you, it's not as good as we wish it were. But yes, I do get health insurance through my wife's job. Here in California, once you hit around 10 people, the rules change. And we don't have 10 people. We have less than 10 people. And the minimum wage changes. A lot of the rules for business changes. But yeah, that's it. Short answer is yes. My worst crash. What's my worst crash? I nipped a tool holder once. I went a little bit deep on an aluminum part. I had a wall that was maybe not quite a 1/4 inch thick. And I'm not sure what happened if I moved the work offset or what happened, but I bumped the nut on the tool holder. That's pretty much been my worst crash, knock on wood. There's 2 types of machinists. Don't let anybody tell you different. There's 2 types of machinists, those who have crashed and those who will crash. It's a matter of time. This is the tool holder right here, so I'll bring it up here and let you guys see. So it came down and it kind of mangled the part. I don't know if it's focusing because I can't see, but it kind of came down and it just mangled an aluminum part, and it wasn't anything egregious. I try to be really cautious, and the Haas YouTube channel tells you to do something like this. My wife works in the emergency room, and whenever anybody comes in an ambulance, there's like a protocol. You have to check and see if they're conscious. Once you've established yes or no on the conscious issue, then you go on to like breathing, and then you go on to heartbeat. And you handle those in the order that, you kind of log those in that specific order. Before those three things occur, you don't start checking blood pressure if their heart's not beating, right? And so when you run one of these machines, a lot of people are really, when they're new, they lack confidence. The best way to build confidence when running one of these machines, in my opinion, is to understand how to work the control and how to use the position screens. Putting the control on single block, turning the rapids down, understanding even the basics for G-code, and then looking at the position screen. Every time you hit the cycle start button, when you're in single block, it goes one block at a time, and then you're able to see if the machine's going to do something stupid. It's one of those things where it really needs to happen each time, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, in order for it to really benefit you, because inevitably it's the one time you get lazy and you don't check it that it bites you in the ass, like it did for me. So now every toolpath I run for the first time, always for the first time, sometimes even when I repost, I will turn the rapids down to 5%, and I'll be really cautious. I don't know that an operator is ever going to run my machine the way I would run it, but just keep that in mind. If you're running your own machines, they're expensive to fix. Caleb Baker's asking, what's my opinion of cloud-based modeling software? Man, you guys are asking like the legendary questions right now. Caleb, I don't know what the answer is to that. I can tell you that I own a copy of SolidWorks with HSMWorks, and I also use Fusion 360. I think the sketch environment in SolidWorks is magnificent. It's more reliable, it's more consistent, the response is much faster. Obviously, it runs completely locally. But Fusion 360 has allowed me to team up with other people that work with me during the process over the cloud. And so some of it is pretty awesome. It is, from what I understand, not ITAR compliant. It's not secure enough, I guess, by the government standards. So this is the whole software, I kind of stayed out of this whole mess that went on here the last couple of weeks with Fusion 360, kind of moving the goalpost. I don't think that this is a big issue. Let me just tell you something that really bothered me. I did a live video here a couple of weeks ago, and I showed off some of the machines behind me. And somebody came out in one of the posts, and they said, oh, anytime, whatever you use, if you use something on camera, that's an endorsement. Well, let me tell you something. That's bullshit, all right? My wife and I made a deal when we started this business that I was going to drive a minivan for the first 2 years so that I could travel up and down the west coast of this country. I owned the minivan or bought the minivan. I didn't endorse the minivan. I used it because it's what I had. I used it because it's what I needed, or for whatever reason. That wasn't me encouraging every guy that I saw to go out and buy that minivan. And so we live in this era where everybody is, this is part of, in the early part of this podcast where I talked about being misrepresented. This is part of the generation of nobody wants to take accountability and responsibility. People are so worried about calling some guy a shill or a whatever. Shut your pie hole and just listen to what the dude says and evaluate it on its own merit. Is the truth not the truth if it's told by someone who has once lied? Evaluate the information. Instead of trying to stand on your moral high horse and judge the world, evaluate the statement on its own merit. That's all I can tell you. So, yeah, that really bothered me. It's like people that want to take no responsibility. Oh, if you use something, you're endorsing it. No, dude, that's not the way it works. There was the Haas mini mill crash a while ago. No, that wasn't my. First of all, that was a crash. And that was not the mini mill. That was the VF2, and that wasn't my crash. That was a glitch in the control. When I hit the power up button, it released the Z-axis servo, and it smashed into the rotary in the table. And Haas replaced that machine. That had nothing to do with me. I consider a crash like an operator crash, like a programming error or jogging the machine into something that's in the machine. Am I familiar with Onshape? Yeah, I am familiar with Onshape, but I'm not a terribly big fan of it. Someone's asking, do I prefer job shop work or machining self products? Generally speaking, I prefer making my own products, but there are times when the right job shop work comes in that it can be really fun and really rewarding to do it, and far, far, far more profitable. This is hilarious. I got offered a lathe job to make roughly about $65,000 a year in parts, and they're super basic and super low tolerance. And I don't know. I'll tell that story another day. But anyways, we got a small lathe coming. Do I have any plated parts? No, I don't have anything plated or anodized right now. From what I understand, the closest guy to do any anodizing to me is up in Fresno. There's absolutely nobody here in Bakersfield that does anodizing work. There may be some plating. Keep in mind, we have a fair amount of oil and gas industry here in my town, and there are some other big, relatively heavy-duty machine shops. So I would find it hard to believe that there's nobody doing hard chrome or anything like that here in town. But as far as anodizing, to the best of my knowledge, there is not. Okay, guys, that's it. I think I've shared about as much as I can, and I don't think you'll be seeing me here on this live stream too much more. We may end up doing some podcasts in the future. Any live streams I do from here on out, I think I'm just going to notify my Patreon crowd and let them just do it direct. I appreciate you guys taking some time to watch. Those of you that do support me on Patreon, it means a lot to me. And I guess that's it, man. I got to get to work. See you guys later. Wish you the best.